Hi, welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a really great throw pillow. This holiday chevron pillow by Jessie Rayott is a really super fun crochet project. It uses the ever popular chevron stitch, and it's all done in one big piece, and then it has simple seaming up the side, and then the way you shift the pattern, it lets the chevron peaks actually line up, and it makes for easy seaming up the top. This is a perfect project for those of you out there who are beginner crocheters because it's really going to teach you how to combine increases and decreases to create a really wonderful fabric. No matter what colors you choose to use, whether it's holiday colors or beautiful blues and whites and browns like I'm using today because that's the color of my mom's holiday decor and I thought it would be a great present for her. This pillow will be perfect for you. So don't hesitate to make this pillow if you're like, I don't want to celebrate the holidays. This is a great pillow no matter what, okay? So go ahead, download the pattern over at redheart.com, gather your materials. They're all listed right there on the pattern as well. Join me back here and I'm gonna get you started on this holiday chevron pillow. You've got your pattern and your materials. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pattern, and I'm going to walk you through a couple of the key steps about making a chevron. As you look down here, you can see I have the pattern right here in front of me. And what's really great about this particular pattern over at redheart.com is that it includes a chart. Now, if you've been following along all of my videos, you know that I love charts. It's because I really love the idea of it being a picture form of what you're going to be doing to complete this wonderful stitch pattern. If you zoom in here, right here on this chart, I'm going to use my crochet hook so you can see all of these ovals down here at the bottom of the chart. And those ovals represent chain stitches. So if we were to count all those stitches, all those chain stitches, we would have 35. And then as we see, the number 1 is out here, so that lets us know that that's where we're going to begin reading row 1. So we would start out here, and we can see row 1, we have this big T-looking stitch with the cross through the middle, going into the 4th chain from the hook. Now that T cross there, that is a double crochet. And that double crochet gets worked in the 4th chain from hook, and we begin to do double crochets in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. So we would do double crochets in the next 5. Now one thing to point out right here is that these first 3 chains that we skipped before we did this double crochet, that is actually going to count as a double crochet. And the reason I know that is because as I look at row 2, I can see that my very last stitch of row 2, my last stitches, actually get worked into the 3rd chain of that turning chain. So that's where I'm going to place my stitch marker as we go into this, okay? Once you've completed the 5 double crochets, I can see here, this looks like it's the same T format, but it's 2 lines coming with 1 T at the top. Do you see that? So what that is that's a decrease. So you partially complete a double crochet into this chain, and you partially complete a double crochet in the next chain. And then your final yarn over and draw through brings it together so it's still 1 stitch, but we've eaten up 2 stitches, 2 chains. That'll make more sense as I jump into the project, but I want to keep walking you through this, okay? So once you've done that decrease right there, it looks like you're going to do another decrease on the opposite side. And then you do a double crochet in the next 5 chains. And then we come to another chain and we're going to do an increase. So an increase is just putting 2 full double crochets into 1 space. Where down here we did 2 partials to create 1 stitch, eating up 2 stitches. We're creating 2 full double crochets into 1 stitch to get an increase. We do that again on the next stitch over, and then we do a double crochet in the next 5. We do a decrease, double crochet in the next 5, and another increase. The reason I wanted to point this out in the chart form before we jump into the pattern is I want you to see here what we're doing. If this chain 3 right here at the beginning counts as a double crochet, and there's a double crochet right next to it, that is an increase, right? Because there's 2 double crochets into 1 chain. So we have an increase, and then these 2 decreases come together to form a valley. And then we work up and we have 2 increases to create a hill. And then we have double crochets down here to the valley with their decreases, and we go up with our double crochets to the hill and we have our increase. That's all creating a chevron is. It's a combination of increases for the hills and decreases for the valleys. Now that we understand that a chevron is made up of increases and decreases, hills and valleys, let's go ahead and we are going to actually work this full chart, which is a full stitch repeat of the chevron stitch. And then we're going to refer back to the actual pattern so I can talk to you about how this will differ from the actual pattern. Only thing different is the chain amount, okay? So let's go ahead and learn how to make a chevron. Let's make a chevron. You ready for this? Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work up the chart that is in the pattern so that we can get used to making the increases and the decreases to create the chevron stitch. This is a great way for you to try out this stitch before you have to chain a full 99 chains. We're going to start off with 35, okay? Let's get started. Down here you can see I've got my main color. This is not my main color, but this is my color A that I'm choosing to use. And I'm going to start off with a slip knot. Now a slip knot for me is I put the yarn in the palm of my hand, I circle around my two fingers, and when I come back up, I go ahead and I cross it over to the front. See that? See that crossover? If I take my hook and I go in underneath the first one and I grab the second one and pull it through, I take my fingers out and just continue pulling that, I get my slip knot. If you need a refresher on a slip knot, there is a full plethora of videos that I do slip knots in, but then there's also a specific slip knot and chain video right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. So I have the nice chain, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to chain 35. So to chain 35, I go ahead, I yarn over my hook, and I bring my hook through the chain. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what you're going to notice is as I go along, I keep moving my pad of my thumb up the chains along the V edge or the face of the chains. I rest the pad of my thumb there just to make sure all of my stitches lay nice and neat and flat and my chain doesn't get all twisted on me. It makes it so that it's much easier to work into my chain stitches rather than having them all twist and turn all around and like odd shapes. Now you'll also notice that I am not making my chains really super tight. I want to make sure they are loose enough that I can work into them, but not so loose that they're going to look sloppy. You'll find a happy balance with this as long as you make your actual chain the size of the throat, the barrel, the shaft of the hook, whatever you want to call it. I've heard it called so many different things. See, I'm bringing my chain right back to the shaft to make sure it's the right size. And then I'd come back and make sure it's the right size. See that? So it might shift down there so I can bring my hook through, but as I come back, I make sure it's the right size. And I'm still traveling up with my thumb. Now, as I've been talking, I've totally lost count. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to count my stitches. Again, I can count really easily because I've used the pad of my thumb to keep these nice and straight. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. So I need to rip out a few just because I don't need all those. So it should be right there. That's 35. And if it's one off, that's all right. I can always undo one down there if I need to. No big deal. I'm going to get myself some yarn here, get a little slack. All right, so I have my 35 stitches, and following along with the chart that we had talked about, which is included in your pattern. Make sure you have the pattern. It's free over at redheart.com. We're going to put a double crochet in the 4th chain from hook. So you never count the loop on your hook. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So in that 4th chain, we're going to put a double crochet. So we yarn over our hook, go into the stitch, yarn over our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Now we're going to put a double crochet in the next 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Now it's time for us to do our decrease, which is a double crochet 2 together. So we're going to yarn over our hook, go into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. So we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, draw through 2. Yarn over our hook, go into the next chain, yarn over our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. So we have 2 half or partially completed double crochets. I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, and draw through all 3. What that does is we have eaten up 2 chain stitches, but we are left with 1 stitch. See that 1 V that's left right there? That means we have 1 stitch left, which is perfect. So that was our decrease, that's our valley. And we need to do that one more time. So I go in and I do my partial, and I do my partial double crochet in the next one, and then I yarn over and draw through all of them. So those are my 2 decreases for my valley. So I know now that as I'm working the next 5 stitches, which are double crochets, I'm beginning to essentially work up the hill. So I've been in the valley, now I'm doing my 5 double crochets to work up my hill, so that way I can get to the peak of my hill and create my increases. All right, so let's see here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one more is 5. Now I've got to do my increase. So for increase, I'm just putting 2 double crochets into the same chain. So the next chain is going to get 2 double crochets. See that? So I have 2 independent stitches into 1 chain. I'm going to do that one more time into the next chain. 1, 2. And then I go ahead and I have 5 double crochets in the next 5 chains. Okay, so this, as we went up the hill, this is our chance to go down the hill so that we can get to the valley again to create another chevron stitch, right? So if you ever lose count, you can go back, find the stitch that has 2 stitches in it, or conversely, if it's the stitch that you took and you did a decrease, find that stitch and then count from there how many double crochets you have. So here was my increase, and I have 1, 2, 3 doubles. Here's 4 doubles, and then 5. So I'm at my valley. So my valley means I have to do a decrease. So I yarn over, and I'm going to do a partial double crochet. So there's the first one. Here's my second one, and then I yarn over and draw through all of them. I have to do that one more time here. So here's my first one. Here's my second one. Yarn over and draw through all of them. So now I have 5 double crochets all the way to the top. And what should happen if I did my chain amount correctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is in the very last chain, I'm going to have 2 double crochets because it represents the top of the hill again. And I am correct, I'm in the last chain here. So I have 1 and then 2 right there. So if I set this down, you can see it's already starting to form, right? So we have our increase that we began with, decrease in the valley, increase on the hill, decrease in the valley, increase in the hill. What makes this particular chevron different than other chevrons that I've done is typically in the valley, instead of doing a decrease with 2 together, you would skip chains. So you actually wouldn't work into all the chains, you would skip chains. But that's what I love about this holiday chevron pillow is it works all of the stitches, and so it's very solid and it has a very nice look to it. Now the other thing I want to point out is down here at the beginning I did not mark my 3rd chain that I turned, right? And that's typically what I would do. So right now I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I know that 1, 2, the 3rd chain is actually the last, it counts as a double crochet. So I would go ahead and I would mark that, and that would be where on my next row coming back, I want to make sure that's where my last 2 double crochets would work into. Now the other thing I want to point out right now is this is where you would change colors in the pattern. Whether you're doing the holiday colors or your own colors, this is where you'd want to change colors. You have a choice. You can go ahead and cut this yarn and finish off and then rejoin either with a slip stitch or a standing double crochet. Or you can do what I like to do, which is change colors in the last pull through of this stitch. The reason I like that is because it pulls the color through, it puts it on my hook ready to work into, and it doesn't bleed into any of the colors down here. I think it's just a really great way to join, and I don't get any slip stitches or anything there. So that's the next part of this section. So we've completed row 1. Let's go ahead and jump into row 2, and I'm going to show you how to change colors and begin the chevron stitch going into row 2. If you look down here, you can see this is the original chevron that we've completed for the first row of the chart. And I want to go ahead and change colors here on this last stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the last yarn over and pull through of that last double crochet I completed and put those chains back on my hook. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my yarn, always leaving 4 to 6 inches. Okay, guys, it's just easier to weave in your ends that way. Just trust me on this. Okay. Yarn's not that expensive. You don't have to save it completely, right? Okay, so if you see here, I'm butting up my new color, making sure that the length of my tail of my new color matches my old color that I cut. And I'm going to yarn over my hook with my new color. You see that? I just yarned over my hook with a new color and pulled that through. So now my new color is on my hook, but my new color is not shining through at all on the other side, but I'm ready to go with my blue. So right here, I would go ahead, I would chain 3, and turn. And if you decide to turn and chain 3, that's totally fine. It doesn't really matter either way. And I would begin row 2, which we know that we're always going to be doing an increase down here, right? So I go ahead and do my increase. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my stitch marker into the 3rd chain. Now knowing that this V right here behind my hook was the end of my double crochet I just completed, I'm putting my stitch marker right there in the 3rd chain. Okay, so that was my 3rd chain of my turning chain. Completed my double into the same one, so that's my increase. So I know, just based on the basic construction of a chevron, I'm gonna go downhill, right? Because I'm gonna go down to meet my valley. So to do that, I've gotta do 5 double crochets. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do my 5 double crochets, working into the double crochets of the previous row I completed. I think that's getting close. As I'm talking, it's hard for me to keep count. So that's 4 and 5. Now I've got to do my decrease. Now what you're going to notice is the top of my decrease from the previous row is right there. So to do a decrease, it's always 1 stitch before the decrease from the row below, and then the decrease from the row below. Does that make sense? So if this V right there is the top of the resulting double crochet 2 together from the row below, I'm going to make sure I'm doing my decrease with this one and this one. So I yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up. That's my first partial and my second partial. By making sure that it lines up like that, my chevrons are going to be nice and straight, and I'm not going to have any sort of cockeyedness going on. So then over here, it would be the top of the decrease right there is the first one, and then the next stitch over, whoa, I forgot to yarn over. The next stitch over would be the next partial double crochet, and then I complete. So there's my valley. I'm going to go up the hill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm at the top of the hill. Okay, oh, that's 4. I was going to say I'm not at the top of the hill, so I must have miscounted. So there's 5. I'm at the top of the hill, and you can see these are my increases, right? This is the 2 stitches into the chain, and my 5th stitch was in the first one, and then my increase will be in the second one. So I'm going to put 2 stitches into that increase stitch, and then 2 stitches in the next increase stitch. 1, whoops, and then 2. And then I would carry on, go down the hill with my 5. So let's see here. 1, get me some yarn. 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm ready to be I'm ready to do my decreases. Once again, it's the stitch before my decrease. I'm at the perfect place. It's just a way for you to recognize where you are. It's a quick way to make note of, oh, look, I might have made a mistake because I'm not in the right place, as I did earlier when I was like, I thought I did 5, but I had only done 4. And so it's just good to be able to read your crochet like that. I did my 2 decreases. I'm going up the hill one last time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then my very last one, which will be worked into that stitch that I marked, I'm going to put 2 double crochets, okay? So I could go ahead and I could take that stitch marker out if I wanted to, but I think I can get it in there without any problems. There's 1 and 2. That's why I like having a stitch marker there, is I don't have to guess where my last stitch is, and I make sure that all my stitches are nice and neat and orderly. So right there, you can see the chevron is really beginning to start, right? Okay, so here's what you have to do. Now you know the basics of the chevron. You know that there are valleys and there are hills. Go ahead and do your chain amount of 99. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a really long chevron, because you're going to make both sides of the pillow at once. You actually make the chevron stitch really super long, as high as the pillow needs to be. It'll give you the specific number of rows. And then we're going to fold it and seam it together and line it up. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. I've showed you how to do the chevron stitch, and now I want to show you how you would seam up the pillow itself. So take a look down here, and I'm going to show you what you would need to do. As you look down here, you can see I have a very long sample right here. And this is actually 99 stitches, and I've done a chevron for several different rows, okay? Again, I've chosen to use non-traditional holiday colors, so that way they match my mom's Christmas decor, which is beautiful. And if this was fully complete, so if this was all of the chevrons, what I would do is I would fold it in half. See if I fold it in half just like this? Isn't that kind of neat? So I have this really nice folded in half piece. All right, so this would be my pillow. I would go ahead and I would seam up my edges right here. Now for me, I would prefer to do a mattress stitch seam. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And what you would do for that is with right sides facing. Okay, so if I had my right sides facing, just like this, whoops, just like this. I would go ahead and I would grab my tapestry needle. Today I'm going to go out of the ordinary for me, and I'm going to use a plastic tapestry needle, just because I've had some of you asking me how I would use a plastic one, because that's all you have. The thing is, you use it just like you do a metal one. I just prefer metal over plastic, but I want to show you plastic today. If you notice, what I've done is I've taken my yarn and I've gone ahead and I've pinched it around the eye of the needle, and I'm going to wiggle the yarn through that eye. And once I do that, it's a really easy way to thread it, right? So I'm going to get just a basic length of yarn here. I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to begin with a figure 8 down here at the bottom of my pillow, okay? So I'm down here at the corner, and I'm going to make sure I'm at the corner, and I come up one side, and I pull up a length, leaving at least 4 to 6 inches always. Come over here at the corresponding corner, come up, and I pull that up. Then I come back over here where I came in originally, and I do it one more time. See that so far? So I have a nice figure 8 right there. Now what I'm going to do is, you'll see I put my hand underneath the piece, and I'm just kind of resting it, letting the 2 seams come together on the palm of my hand. And I'm using my needle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up the stitch itself, and threading through the stitch, I am going to pull my matching yarn color, so my white, I chose to use white, through that stitch. Then I come over here to this side, I go back and forth, to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left. And I do the same thing. I go up the corresponding stitch, so I'm going right through the stitch, you guys, and then I pull it up. Okay? Then I come back over here, going roughly in where I came out, go up the stitch, and now I'm working through my blue stitches right now. Having a little bit of a difficult time because I like, it's the plastic needle actually wants to grab on to my yarn. And then I pull up right here and I come over here and I do the same thing. What I'm doing is I am creating a beautiful join, and so I'm not going to get any bulk or any weirdness or stitches shining through as I join these. It's going to be a really nice, beautiful seam. And I just keep coming back and forth, back and forth. Once you've done this all the way up, okay, so let's go back and forth a couple times so that I can skip ahead because I think you guys get the concept here. Just as long as you're threading through the stitch itself, you'll be a happy camper. All right, so you can see there that it's pulling together and it comes together really nicely. Once it's all seamed together, okay, so we had it laid out like this, right? We had it just like this, and it's nice and even. But if we were to shift these points so that the points are into the valleys, so our hills match up with the valleys of the other side and vice versa down here, what I can do now is just seam this closed. You see that? You can seam this closed just like that, having the hills match up with the valleys and seaming that closed. So to do that, you can use what I like to call a lace-up stitch, okay? So a lace-up stitch, let's show you how to do that. I'm just going to cut this off of here and use the same thread here. So let's just pretend we were over here and actually, where do I want to do this? Let's say we were here, okay? So I'm going to pretend that the yarn is already joined because you already know how to do a figure 8 join, right? And I'm going to come in, I'm coming in here to the inside of the V. So I'm going to come into the inside of the V and I would be coming out. And then I would come over here to the corresponding inside of the V and then come out. Tuck that in. And then I would work that up all the way up this pattern here. This is what I call the lace-up stitch, and for me it's one of those stitches that it really pulls everything together really nice and neat. And just as long as you go up the V's, so I'm coming from one side to the other and I'm going under both legs. Can you see that? I'm under both legs and I'm coming up all the way, and as I go along, if I pull this snug, you can see it comes together nice and closed. Now, if I was doing this as if this was really the final edge of the pillow, I would use this same blue color to seam this up just to make sure it was absolutely invisible, but you know, you can do whatever you want to do. You want to make sure that at some point before you close it all up, you do insert either fiberfill, your cushions, or before you seam it closed, put your pre-made pillow form already in there so that way you can seam it completely closed together on that as well. And that's how easy this little thing is, right? The Holiday Chevron Pillow by Jessie Rayat. It's going to be your go-to little throw pillow for the holidays or for any time of year, don't you think? This would be super cute for a little girl's bed, or just the blues and whites and tans and seafoam color would be really great in a nice like white upholstered room like I'm sitting in. Anything. You can choose any colors you want to use to make this really great chevron throw pillow. It's a lot of fun. It's really easy, especially if you really think to yourself about having those hills and those valleys, and you're gonna do basic double crochets at the top of the hill, double crochets to the valleys, work your decrease, top of the hill, work your increase. If you maintain that balance, you'll come out with a really great project, one that everybody's gonna want their own little pillow. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you get a chance, please go ahead and smash that like button. As my kids say, let YouTube know that you enjoyed this video. And then please hit subscribe so that you know whenever I release a brand new video. I will talk to you guys again soon. I'm Marley Bird for redheart.com. Bye.